day everyone. For today's video, I am going to tell to you the story of Baucis and Philemon. So let's start. In the hilly countryside of Phrygia, there grew two trees, which were cause for much amazement to anyone who saw them. You see, one was an oak tree and the other was a linden, yet the two grew from a single trunk. So, how did this marvel come to be? Okay, so let's begin. Zeus, the king of the Olympian gods, would tired of the fun and merriment up on Mount Olympus, and he would leave his splendid palace to journey down to earth in order to test man's hospitality. Since he was a great deity, feared and respected, and he was welcome with proper pomp and circumstance wherever he decided to go. One morning, Zeus and his son Hermes decided to disguise themselves as poor travelers because Zeus wanted to see how hospitable the people of Phrygia were. So they flew to earth, knocking on the door of any dwelling they encountered, be it rich or poor, large or small. They stopped at several different houses and were met by rude villagers who offered nothing but insults. Now we must understand that Zeus was the guardian of travelers, and all those who sought shelter in a strange land were under his special protection. So in his mind, hospitality was paramount, and Zeus didn't like what he saw so far in this rude land of Phrygia. Hermes and Zeus were flippantly dismissed at hundreds of homes, and they at last began to tire of the boorish behavior of the natives. The king of the Olympians grew angrier by the moment, and he determined to punish these discourteous Phrygians. Just as they decided to end their journey, the gods came upon a humble little hovel, poorer than any they had seen before, with a roof made only of straw and reeds. And this is where an elderly couple lived. The woman was called Baucis, and her husband Philemon. Baucis and Philemon cheerfully bid them to enter their small hut. Stooping low to pass through the small entrance, Zeus and Hermes, still unrecognizable in their disguises, and found themselves in a tiny yet cozy and very clean room. The owners of this poor dwelling had done the best with what little they had. In the dim light, they saw Baucis and Philemon were sincerely glad to see them, and they bustled about the room trying to make them more comfortable. Baucis threw a soft cover over the bench and told them to rest their tired limbs, while Philemon kindled the fire so they could warm their chilled bones. The elderly couple told them that their humble cottage had always been their home, and they had lived there happily throughout their marriage. Even though they were poor, they lacked for nothing, for their love for each other made filled them with the type of contentment that would make a king envious. Zeus and Hermes exchanged knowing glances. This was a rare pair of mortals indeed. Perhaps not all Phrygians were rude hosts. Philemon raided his meager provisions and brought out some olives, eggs, and radishes, while Baucis boiled a pot of water, and he hurried out to their modest garden and came in with a freshly picked cabbage. He tossed it into the kettle along with their last piece of smoked pork hanging from the hovel beams as Baucis set the table for the two tramps. One leg of the table was shorter than the others, so Baucis had to prop it up with a piece of broken dish. Once the feast was ready, Philemon pulled up a couple of ancient chairs and invited the guests to fill their bellies. Zeus and Hermes were thrilled to see the kind villagers. When Baucis poured their water, it came out as wine, and the elderly couple realized they were in the presence of immortals. Baucis and Philemon began to apologize for not offering the gods better food, such as their chicken. Baucis and Philemon begin to chase their chicken to kill it for dinner, when Zeus tells them to let the chicken live and grants the elderly couple a request for their generosity. The time was right. Dropping their disguises, Zeus and Hermes revealed their true identities to their gracious hosts and informed them that they had been kindly entertaining Olympian deities. They commended Baucis and Philemon on their splendid hospitality and informed them that they were unlike the rest of their countrymen. They told them to step outside their hut and to look around them. They were astounded to see only water where once there thrived fertile land and grand buildings. A huge lake had swallowed the entire countryside, people and all, and only their own humble hovel stood unscathed. Zeus punishes the weak land of Phrygia along with the ungracious inhabitants. In a short while, though, another miracle dried their tears. Where once stood their lowly hut now, perched majestically a stately temple, its white marble pillars supporting a roof of pure gold, and this served as their new home. Zeus asks anything they want and he will be happy to grant their wish. Baucis and Philemon whispered briefly among themselves, then bowed their heads to the king of the Olympians, and in hushed voices said that their wish was to serve as his priests, living and guarding his temple until the end. The only other thing they asked of Zeus was that they should never live alone but would even die together because they do not want to feel the pain of separation. Their love was great and Zeus was pleased to grant their requests. Consequently, when they died, they were transformed into intertwining pair of trees that joined together branches forever. But still they were together forever. You see, the linden and the oak grew from the same trunk, and Zeus had granted their wish, and people came from afar to marvel at this wonderful tree and to hang wreaths of flowers on its branches. Okay, that's the end of the story. Baucis and Philemon. Thank you for watching.